So now Saul doesn't wait for too long before he starts to be full of pride, and he begins to disqualify himself through his disobedience. It's said that Saul would then lead for 40 years, and God had already rejected him within the first about 2 years of his leadership. And it says, "What have you done?" He decides to make an offering because Samuel was late. Also, you were late, so I ended up doing this. And he tries to even, justify himself, but that he shouldn't have done. And there are certain things that you shouldn't do that are not in your portfolio, that are not in your line. Just leave them be so that you can continue to stay within the blessing of God. Now let's read 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 12 to 14. It says, and the men of the outpost shouted to Jonathan and say, and his armor bearer, come up to us and we'll teach you a lesson. So Jonathan said to his armor bearer, climb up after me, and the Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. Jonathan climbed up inside, using his hand and feet, with his armor bearer right behind him. The Philistine fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer followed and killed behind him. In that first attack, Jonathan and his armor bearer killed some 20 men in an area of about half an acre. Wow, we see this relationship of the armor bearer and the armor user. That they won battles alongside each other. I don't know what capacity you serve in your church, where you serve in your pastor. You can win battles together with your pastor. You can fight, you can pray, you can cast out demons, you can read the Bible. You can learn how to preach, because you are also capable of this thing. And we find that God continues to then fight for Jonathan. Jonathan was such an amazing man. Oh, we need to do a character sketch, a study of Jonathan. He's amazing. So let's look at chapter 14 still, verse 20 and 23. Then Saul and all his men assembled and went to battle. They found the Philistines in total confusion, striking each other with their swords. God has started fighting them, the journey for them. And look at something scary here. So on that day, verse 23, on that day the Lord saved Israel, and the battle moved on beyond Beth Aven. We see God giving a victory to Saul just after rejecting him, because he's God. Sometimes we can be excited when you're seeing things happening around us, and we think, it's a sign that God is pleased. But as for Samuel, he had rejected him and still gave him a victory. So we'll look at now the subject of communication, and we'll learn it from this portion of scripture, which is so interesting. Chapter 14, verse 27 to 30. But Jonathan had not heard that his father had bound the people with an oath, and he reached out at the end of the staff that was in the hand and dipped it into the honeycomb. He raised to his hand to his mouth, and his eyes brightened. Then one of the soldiers told him, your father bound the army under a strict oath, saying, cursed be anyone who eats food today. That is why the men are faint. Jonathan said, my father has made trouble for the country. And this is an issue of communication that we want to see. If a leader passes an instruction, it's important that you pass it down to others. And it is important that we do that. And okay, Jonathan does something that is not a good thing in leadership. When a leader does something wrong, you are not supposed to then mention it in front of the people to say, oh no, he messed up, he messed up, he messed up. Even if you are the one who has been wronged, you must show that you understand that a leader sometimes makes pronouncements because of certain things that will be happening in their life. So, Jonathan, there you are, young man. You made a leadership blunder there. So, I'm going to look again and see where we are. We are going to read 1 Samuel 15 to 17 quickly. I think I've got a few points there under it. And okay, right. I put a title here, Remember Those Who Did Good to You. Then he said to the Kenites, go away and leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along the way, for you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. So remember all those people that have been kind to you, so that you show that you are really, truly, truly grateful. Now, 1 Samuel chapter 16, and we're now looking at, I think, from verse 7. But Saul and the army spared Agag the best of the sheep and the cattle. Then verse 10, then the word of the Lord came to Samuel and said, I regret that I made Saul king, because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Samuel was angry and he cried out before the Lord all night. 1 Samuel 15 verse 35, until the day Samuel died, he did not go to see Saul again, though Samuel mourned for him, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king. The Lord regretted having made Saul king. It's a sad day. It was really, really a sad day. He had a disobedient disposition. He had taken this leadership thing to too high, man, and he thought that he could defy the systems. Let's see. And then now this is where we see Samuel going to offer up an offering, yet God has sent him to anoint the man. We find that Saul, as we're still talking about Saul was terrible, a terrible leader like Adam. He is now blame shifting. He's saying, oh no, it's the people who made me do this. So I kept the sheep so that I could say to God, I thought the people, when a leader is people led, there is disaster. We saw how that didn't play out so well when Aaron was led by the people and he made a decision, and he made a very bad decision because the people wanted something. So the kingdom was torn from him because he didn't listen. He was now looking the part, dressing the part, addressing them as king, but he was already rejected by God. And I'm telling you, it's just amazing how these things will happen. Now, we are wrapping up on Saul, and Samuel's era is also about to come to an end, and we are going to soon be talking about David.